Methods are similar to functions. They differ because methods are defined within the context of a struct, enum, or trait object. Methods always have their first parameter as self, which is representing the instance of the struct that is calling the method. So let's create a struct real quick called square. And we're going to have the width and height. And then let's create a square. And we're going to say the width is 5 and the height is 5. Alright, so awesome. So we got our square created. So in order to create these methods, we start off with the impl keyword, which stands for implement, and then the name of the struct that we want to implement these on. So we want to implement some methods on a square. And then, just like what's normal with a function, we say function, so fn, area, and then remember, the first parameter is always self, and then in this case, we want to return an unsigned 32. And since we're doing the area, we're going to do width times height. So if we come down here and print this out, we would expect to see 25. And that's exactly what we got. So we can have as many of these functions as we want. So as another one, let's just call what's my width, if I can spell it right, and we're going to refer to self. We're going to return an unsigned 32, and we're just going to return self.width. And again, just to see how this works, let's print it out. Field, not a method, and that's because it's called what's my width. That would help. And we got 5 back. So that's how you create methods with structs. But now what if we want to have a mutable struct? How can we go about that? Well, in here we would need to make square mutable. So now that we did that, so let's create a function called change width. And we're going to obviously accept ourself. And then I also want to say, hey, new width of type u32. And then we're going to say self.width equals new width. So down here, we would say square dot change width, and my new width, we're going to make it 10, which even though now makes it a rectangle, but for the sake of this, we'll say it is still a square. So now if we print it out again, we would expect it to print out 10 now, which it does not. So let's see what my error is. So it says self is a reference, so the data it refers to cannot be written. So we need it to be an mutable. And now that it works. So we updated our width through a mutable reference to the square struct. So it works the same way as we learned in the last section with mutable references, but in this case we had to make our self mutable in the function call, and then we also had to make our variable mutable. So in the next lecture, we're going to look over what lifetimes are, as well as the history and why lifetimes are even in Rust, and what exactly they do for us.